Hey Floss Tube, welcome back. This is my 91st Floss Tube video, and I'm excited to share with you what I've been working on. First of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. And if you are returning, thank you for coming back and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. It's been a great couple of weeks, and I'm excited to share with you what I've been working on. Things have been going great here. It's been terribly hot. We haven't had much of a monsoon at all this year, and we'd just love to have a little bit of rain, but that really hasn't happened. So before we get into what I've been working on, I first want to respond to some questions that have been left in the comments since my last video. So the first comment is from Mindy, who asked me if I would do a video about beading when I get to the point when I start beading my English garden sampler. And sure, I'll do that. Mindy specifically wants to know whether I bead with my project in hand or whether I use my frame or what I use. And I have done that once before. I've used my frame to do it. I use the widest scroll bars the widest sidebars that I have, so that I don't have to wind up quite as much fabric into my scroll bars. My biggest concern, I don't think that the pressure from the other thing that I do is I don't tighten as much when I'm doing that, and I don't think it would actually cause the beads to break. I think the pressure across them is about the same, but I'd be mostly worried about the beads distorting the fabric. And so I try to avoid tightening things really tight when I have beads rolled up in my scroll bars. We'll talk a little bit about an English garden sampler a little bit later, but I'm starting to really realize that there's a lot of beads on that piece, and I'll show you. Carol asked me if there's a big difference between 28 count and 32 count fabric. I don't think there is. I mean, it'd be equivalent to 14 count Aida and 16 count Aida, right? And I don't think there's a lot of difference between those. I think that if you stitch on 28 count, you should be able to stitch with 32 count as well. If there's other people who disagree with me, feel free to let me know in the comments. But as far as I'm concerned, the sizes are just about the same. Miat789 asked me about my diagonal stitching. She asked me, this was left on my tutorial about diagonal stitching, and she asked me if I do page by page on my height or if I do diagonal all the way through. And I'm basically doing it page by page. You get to a point where the diagonals are so long that it just feels like you're not accomplishing anything. You really are, but you don't see as much progress as you do if you do page by page. So Joan asked me if I would do a slideshow of all of the projects that I've finished. And that's a good idea. I think I'm going to try to do it in this video. If you have noticed in the past, I always put in a slideshow of my progress since the last video that I've made. So I think I'm going to try to put in a slideshow showing everything that I've ever stitched. There are some pictures that are not very good because were taken a long time ago, but we'll see how it turns out. There's quite a few now, and I'm hoping I can find pictures of everything because it's been kind of a while since I've tried to collect everything in one place. If I can get something together, it will be at the end of this video. And then finally, Julie asked me if there are any projects that I have started and not finished because I have been lost motivation on them. And she asked me, why is it that you think you've lost motivation? So I thought I'd show you. I have like four 4 projects that are partially finished that I haven't worked on for a very long time, that I've basically given up on, and I thought I'd share them with you, show you my fails, I guess. A couple of them I'm kind of hesitant to show because you're going to say there's nothing wrong. But okay, so this first one, and as we talk about it, there's kind of a pattern. As I think about this, there's a pattern of what causes me to lose motivation in a project. So this first project is something that I've stitched a long time ago. When I started cross-stitching, I was I was just newly married, and as we started to have kids, I kind of thought that it would be a good idea to do some kind of a Noah's Ark thing for each of my kids. And that has kind of fallen by the wayside because time has passed and I don't think they're very interested in Noah's Ark anymore. But this is one of them that I started. This is the Noah's Ark by Teresa Wentzler. And as you can see, I got, well, it's less than half, I think. But this has Noah's Ark scene here on the sea. There's a rainbow that comes down through here. And then there's an alphabet that goes down here. And then there's all these blocks of animals that go all the way around. The animals are stitched over one, so they're actually pretty detailed. And what made me lose motivation with this piece, and I thought I was going to restart on a different fabric. I don't like the fabric. As you can see this board through the fabric. It's really gauzy. I don't even remember what fabric it is, but it's really gauzy, and I just got discouraged with it because I didn't like it. And stitching all these over one animals on this fabric just wasn't very fun for me. I feel like it would have been easier if I had a fabric that was a little bit more substantial to work with. So that's the first one. I think that's about half of the animals, actually. And it's not too difficult. This is actually the second time I tried stitching this. The first time I was stitching, I know this is 28 count fabric, and I originally tried stitching it on 32, and it was just over one on 32 was just it was so hard for me to anchor my threads that I gave up on it after just a couple of animals, and I started it over again. So I decided to stop working on this with the intention that I was going to stitch it again, and that time has just never arrived, and it probably will not anymore. Who knows? But right now I'm not planning on ever working on this again or even restarting it. So this is Noah's Ark by Teresa Wentzler. This next piece, this was a kit that I bought, and there is, if you watch Handwork Maniac, she's actually shown her finished piece. This is called O Jerusalem, and it's a kit by Busilla that was, it's a needlework adaptation of a painting by Greg Olson. And it's a picture of Christ on the Mount of Olives overlooking the city of Jerusalem. I really love this painting, and I wanted to stitch this because I love the painting. And you can see this was back before I learned about parking, and you can kind of see my evolution as I've worked on this. I started right here in the middle because that's what I used to do. I used to always start in the middle, and I stitched all of this, and I got bored with this and kind of discouraged. So then I thought, well, I'm going to count over to the side so that I can work this way. And I got over here, and I got bored with it too because there's because there's a lot of brown in this piece. There is a ton of brown. So then I discovered parking, and I figured out how to do diagonal stitching, and so I counted down to this corner, and I counted several times to make sure that I was that I was right. And I started down in this corner and started stitching diagonally. And I got over here and I am actually one stitch off. One stitch this way. And I thought about it and I thought, well, you could try to fudge it somehow, but I don't feel really confident in being able to add one stitch all the way up through here to have it look good. So I've kind of given up on this right now, just because I guess I don't know what to do about it. And I've been tempted to get the DMC equivalents for these colors and try starting over, but I just haven't gotten to the point where I feel like I can do that. So this was, once again, O Jerusalem. It was a kit by Busilla. It's not available anymore as a kit, and it's based off of a painting by Greg Olson. Okay, here is another kit that I started. This is a Dimensions Gold kit, and it's a Rocky Point, which is a lighthouse. I really like lighthouses. And you can see this is another piece that I started before I started parking and stitching diagonally. And you can kind of see that I used to stitch, I'd start in the middle and then I'd just kind of go where things took me. And that gets really discouraging because I've talked about this before. I have to decide what I'm going to stitch next, and I get to the point where I just don't want to stitch anything, and that's kind of what happened with this. But the other thing that was really a killer for me is all of this up here is stitched in half stitches, and I had a whole bunch of blocks of half stitches that I was stitching, and I don't even know if they'll show up on camera, but I've got vertical lines coming down through here. Basically, I was making the half stitches in two different ways, and that put some lines up in here. And now I look at it, it doesn't look quite as bad as it did when I was stitching it, but I didn't know what to do with it. I was reluctant to tear everything out and stitch it again because I didn't know how much floss I had to do that. I was worried that I would run out of floss of the kit. So this is another one that's kind of like I don't know exactly what to do with it, and I've been tempted to try to start over with my parking method, and I just have never gotten to the point where I felt like I wanted to stitch it. So there's another one. So I guess one of the patterns you'll see is I make what I think is a horrid mistake, and I don't know how to fix it, so I give up. Or it's also because of the fabric, and this is another case of the fabric. This piece I am going to restart as soon as I finish English Garden Sampler. Actually, I am definitely going to be restarting this one. This is English Cottage Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. And you can see I've stitched quite a bit of this top over here. The reason why I have gave up on this one is this fabric. And when I started stitching this, I didn't know about the pin stitch. And you have all these leaves. They're all just, what is it, 4 and 3, 7 little stitches. And I was just like, I had a hard time, well, with so few stitches, I didn't like how I was anchoring the floss on the back. I felt like it was going to come apart. And so I've been carrying threads all the way from one leaf to another. And I realized that if I ever finished this, that you would be able to see all of the carried threads through the fabric back through there. And that's just not, that just will not fly with this piece, I don't think. So because of the fabric, I decided I wasn't going to work on it anymore. And of course, now I've learned about the pin stitch, so I know how to start and stop my threads better, so I won't feel tempted to carry between the leaves. And I've got a new piece of fabric that I'm going to work on with this. It's all ready to go. It's just waiting for me to finish the current Teresa Wentzler that I'm working on so that I can start another one. And I'm really excited about starting this again. But this is English Cottage Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. I actually like this one. Of this and English Garden Sampler, this is actually my favorite. So I'm really looking forward to working on this again. So either I don't like the fabric and I just get so tired of the fabric that I give up, or I make a mistake that I can't see how to easily fix. Those are probably the two things that make it so that I'm not motivated to continue working on the design. So there's all of my fails, so to speak. Okay, before we go any further, in my last video I announced a giveaway, and I have the winners for the giveaway. So I gave away 5 things, and I just want to announce who has won. I chose these people using the random comment picker from random YouTube comment picker. So first of all, for the cards, it's a set of 4 stitch cards that are designs by Lori Holt I had 56 people enter into this giveaway, and the winner is Brenda Ellers. So Brenda, congratulations. I'm excited to send those to you. For the accessories, it's a collection of accessories. I had 129 people enter this giveaway, and the winner is Donna Monk. So Donna, congratulations. For the quilt book, I had 44 people enter this drawing, and the winner is Kim Enjoys Life. So Kim, congratulations. For the kit, that's the rose with the hedgehog, I had 60 people enter this giveaway, and the winner is Kif Stitches Riley. So Riley, congratulations. And finally, for the set of 4 patterns, the tree patterns from Just Nan, I had 38 people enter that giveaway, and the winner is Once Upon a Stitch, Lori. Lori, congratulations. I'm excited to send that to you. So congratulations to all the winners. I'm really excited to send your prizes out to you. So if you will just either send me an email. My email is in the comments in the show notes for the videos down below. Or you can also direct message me on Instagram. Reply with your address so that I can send these prizes out to you. Thank you so much for entering my giveaway, and I want to thank everybody. It was great fun to see all of your comments. Okay, so let's talk about what I have been working on. It's been 3 weeks since I've made a video, and the last time that I talked to you, I said I was going to work on English Garden Sampler every other week. And so I have worked on English Garden Sampler twice since the last time I made a video. So that's this piece, English Garden Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. Of course, it's a design with a garden scene, peacocks, and an alphabet, and a border. That border is huge. Okay, so this is what it'll look like when it's finished. And if you've been following me, you know that I have finished all of the cross stitch, and I am working on I'm working on back stitching and all of the specialty stitches, basically filling in all of the holes that are left. So I'll show you a picture of what this looked like the last time you saw it. I'm stitching it on 25 count Antique White Lugana, and I am stitching it with Sullivans Floss, and stitching it with one strand over two, except for the places where it's stitched over one, and that's 1 over 1. There are some places that have over 1 stitching. This is what it looks like now. And as you can see, when I talked to you before, I still had a section of the border to stitch. So I finished the border, at least all the specialty stitches in the border. So now it looks nice and complete with the border. And then I came up here and started working on all of the back stitching. And Teresa Wentzler's back stitching sometimes is very subtle. And you can't really see lines necessarily, but what it does is it emphasizes parts of the designs, and it gives a little bit of dimension, so it's really subtle. I had somebody on Instagram ask me if I would have known that it was going to be so subtle if I would have backstitched with a different color, a darker color. And my answer to that is no. I kind of like the effect. It's not backstitching that shouts, "Here I am, I'm backstitching," right? It just serves to emphasize parts of the designs, and I kind of like that effect. So I did all the backstitching in this area. There's this is Scotch stitch leaves all the way around this border that I also stitched. And now I'm working on this band here, which has the triangles are satin stitch. They're outlined with the gold cord. That's the same gold cord that is used in the border. And then there's lazy daisies coming through here. And I did the lazy daisies last night. So I'll give you a closer look so that you can see it a little bit better. So, as I said, there's lazy daisies here. I have a love-hate relationship with lazy daisies. I like how they look. I have a terrible time deciding how much tension to put in them. So sometimes they end up really loose, and sometimes they end up really tight. So I end up doing them over and over until I get a stitch that I like. So it's slow going through here. I still have a long ways to go to fill in this border with these lazy daisies. And as I have been working on this, I'm realizing more and more how many beads are in this piece, because there's beads everywhere. Every instruction that I look at talks about beads. So, of course, there's beads all the way through the border and in the corners. There's beads on the peacock's tail. There are beads on each of these leaves coming through here. Right in the angle of each leaf, there's a bead. There are beads all the way through here as well. I'm sure there's beads everywhere. This thing is going to be encrusted in beads, and I didn't quite realize how many beads there were going to be until I start going through the instructions. So yeah, when I get all of the specialty stitches done and come back and do beads, who knows how long it's going to take me to bead this thing. Probably a long time. Anyway, so I'm really happy with what I've been able to accomplish. I'm happy that I finished this border. This border was getting really tedious, and I'm glad to have it finished. And it actually feels good to have all the back stitching done through here too. I think it's really starting to get a little bit of dimension here. In this piece, Teresa Wentzler usually back stitches everything. In this piece, it's only the foreground that is back stitched actually. All of the stuff in the back, like these trees and the shrub and the mountains in the back, they're not back stitched. That allows them to kind of fade into the distance, I think. I don't know. I was also asked on Instagram how long are you keeping track of how long it's taking you to backstitch? And I'm not specifically counting, but I have my spreadsheet that keeps track of all this stuff. And so I will be able to tell you when I'm finished how many days I've been spending on it. I think I'm up to 3 weeks. I'm close to 3 weeks. So, and I've still got a ways to go. So, yeah. The question is am I going to finish this before the end of the year? I think if I continue to work every other week on it that I will. I don't know. It's hard to say. My guess right now is 3 or 4 more weeks, but I could be wrong. So that's English Garden Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. Okay, so the other thing I did, I think I mentioned this in my last video, is I'm using the Tiny Decisions app to decide what I'm going to do on the weeks when I'm not working on English Garden Sampler. So after I worked on English Garden Sampler for a week, I spun the wheel. And I was kind of surprised to see that the wheel chose A Saviour's Praise by Shakespeare's Peddler. And part of the reason why I was surprised is this is my third oldest whip. So I've worked on English Garden Sampler, then the wheels chose A Mid-Amish Life, which is my second oldest whip, and then it chose Saviour's Praise, which is my third oldest whip. It's like the wheel is telling me that I just need to work on my old projects, I guess. So this is a design by Shakespeare's Peddler. That's Teresa Wentzler. And of course, it is a design. It's not a reproduction sampler, but it's a sampler that is meant to look like one. It's her original design. There are a lot of people working on this. I'll post a picture of what it looked like the last time that you saw it, which actually wasn't all that long ago. It's been a couple of months, I think. So I'm stitching this on 40 count Beach Brew from R&R. I'm stitching using the called for colors, which are anchor threads, and there are a few Weeks Dyeworks flosses. There's like 4 different Weeks colors. And I'm stitching on 40 count, so I'm stitching with 1 strand over 2 stitches. And this is what it looks like now. So yeah, I'm really happy with what I've been able to accomplish. I finished the house. I finished this section over here, and then I started working on this border over here. So I stitched this section of the border over here with humility. That was what was charted, and then I stitched this lady, and I started working on this basket. This basket is huge. I didn't realize how big it was till I started stitching it. It's like, this is going to take me a while. So there's a big basket here that I'm going to need to stitch. The other thing is that I need to point out is, if you've been following me, you know that I'm changing some of the words. I'm changing the words so that all of the words come from a verse in section 4 of the Doctrine and Covenants. The reason why I did that is I saw all of these words that were in the border, and they reminded me of that section because about half of them are mentioned in that section, and I thought, well, I'm just going to change the other half. So here, this used to be right judgment. I changed it to knowledge. So knowledge here, I kind of had to fit it in, which I think is the way. I'm glad with what I did. It looks a little bit empty, but I'm fine with that. So yeah. So I'm excited to finish this, and then I'm going to start stitching Now Thank We All Our God, which goes right here, which that is one of my favorite hymns. So yeah, I'm really happy with my progress with this one as well. And I'm excited to do some more work with this. So those are the two pieces that I've worked on in the last 3 weeks. So what are my plans? Well, last night when I finished working on English Garden Sampler, I pulled out my app and spun my wheel. And the wheel says I get to do a new start. So I still haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. It's probably most likely going to be, well, I have a couple of options. I'm kind of thinking about pulling out the Autumn Sampler, which is the design by Sandy Orton of Cooler Design Studio. I've already stitched the Winter Sampler, and it would be good to get another design in that series going. Or I keep saying that I'm going to start Miss Hathaway's Garden, so that's another possibility. Or I may just choose something else. But those are kind of my two options right now that I'm thinking about doing. I guess if you want to see what I actually end up doing, you can follow me on Instagram and see what I post tonight. As always, you can follow my daily progress on Instagram. I am at blitstitch on Instagram. I just want to thank everybody for watching my videos. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, and thank you for leaving your comments. I always enjoy hearing from you and would be glad to answer any questions that you have. As always, feel free to like this video if you want. That would also be a great help for me as well. I hope that you have a great week, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.